Abaria loves to play champions like Talon, like Zed, so that's kind of what H2k are going to focus away. Forbidden has his very comfortable champion pool as well. So just something to note here as we go through the first ban. MelonCats actually have their first ban docked from them as they were not on the scheduled start time for this game.
Yes, as I'm sure everybody noticed, but this is the punishment they have to endure. They only have those two to go with, and as we mentioned, they're that red side. They have that Lee Sin, that Zed priority that we've seen a couple of times. They have to, if they don't want to have it first picked away, be that Gnar ban. And with one less to play with, that could be a big problem for them.
It's very fortunate, though, that Abaria's playstyle is that Zed and Talon, because at this point in the game, 2 bans out on those AD mid laners is a good start for MelonCats. There's the Gnar ban that we were kind of expecting, and would not be surprised at this point to see H2k ban away something like a Jace or something like an Irelia. And actually, I was looking at my notes when they made the ban, and that's completely different.
Yeah, so they've banned away that Jarvan, which is another very common first or second round pick in these most recent games because of how highly contested these junglers can be. And MC answer it by taking away another jungler, taking away Lee Sin.
That's why they're not going to ban Jace. So when we were discussing our pregame for this, when we were talking about what we expected, I brought up, will they ban Jarvan away from Gilius? They feel like that's the best way of doing this. And then they're going to pick the super strong Jace in that mid lane for Forbidden. So Forbidden is already on a strong champion for himself.
MC, however, have been able to pick themselves up 2 of our tournament's most played champs because of it. Maokai and Corki for top lane and AD carry.
Yeah, though that's some pretty strong champions right there already. Maokai getting locked in. We talked about Zaclipse would be playing Maokai if available. And then Corki on Crikey down in the bottom lane. He had some pretty good games in the last series as well. So Corki pretty much fits him down to a T.
So we saw Gilius playing Kha'Zix in the last best of 3 MelonCats performed in last weekend. He didn't have a great time on Kha'Zix either. So I don't see MelonCats being too upset if H2k picked this away from him. But at the same time, is his Rengar any better? That's what he's left with. He's not got many options with Lee Sin and Jarvan banned away. So in the next 10 seconds, we're going to find out a lot about where Gilius go. As it is, H2k have locked in Kha'Zix and Rumble.
Yes, indeed they have. That is a lot of damage coming out from that. And Kha'Zix, you mentioned we saw in the previous series, but Lulex is an aggressive jungler. We know that he wants to play aggressive champions like Kha'Zix, and with Lee Sin not available, Jarvan not available, that is the next best choice. And up in that top lane, this is what Odoamne wants. Odoamne is possibly the strongest top lane player not in LCS currently, depending on who you talk to. And Rumble into Maokai is a comfortable matchup for him. This is a situation where he can get a lot of damage very early on, and really maybe even look to carry H2k from the top lane.
Now, 15 seconds for MC to decide what they go up against it with. They've still got plenty to choose from. We've not seen any supports yet, of which there are so many to go with, but we've seen a huge variety throughout this expansion tournament. Jannas, Sonas, all mixed in amongst there, but this is our first Elise up against or alongside that Thresh.
Yeah, and that is some pretty fast lock-ins from H2k as well.
Yeah, they've grabbed themselves Sivir and Alistar as their last 2.
Okay, so Sivir into Corki is just very good in general. Alistar's a bit of a surprise, but it is Voidal's playstyle. Both of these support players love their melee supports. They absolutely love that short-range champion. Of course, Thresh is ranged, but likes to get in close to his opponents. But that is these supports setting themselves up for exactly what they want. But I'm looking at H2k's composition, and they've got a lot of poke damage here. You include Sivir in the mix, Rumble, Kha'Zix, and Jace, and then Voidal's going to be able to just peel for whoever he wants.
There's quite a bit of movement speed in there too, with Jace's Gate and Sivir's ultimate, so that team's going to be pretty nippy when they decide to go in. As it is, MelonCats now have a tough decision as to how do you counter that much poke, that much potential siege from both Jace and Sivir, and it looks like, and I think I'm pretty safe to say I agree with them. Xerath is their response. Yeah,
Xerath's a very versatile champion in that middle lane. He, does everything that you'd want a mid laner to do, so fits very nicely into this composition. You look actually at the setup that MelonCats have. Maokai is going to give them good team fight and good single target. Elise is going to give them good single target catch. Xerath does the same thing as well. Team fight, single target, lots of damage. MelonCats right now, just picking Eclipse onto a comfortable champion and having the rest of the team just bring so much damage to the fight.
We have a couple of options here for MelonCats too. Now, we saw different dimension in both last week's and the previous games today, running with 2 big tanks in their front line. MC with this Elise could take her one of 2 ways. One of them is that big tank that could be that second front line champion alongside Maokai, or she could go for a bit more of an assassin AP burst option. So again, it's more versatility there that MC can choose from. But we do have all 10 of our champions locked in. We are about to head over into the load screen. So don't forget to join in with the conversation at LOL Esports and hashtag LCS expansion to let us know what your thoughts are towards this.
My thoughts right now. For the mid game, H2k have so much damage. They have Jace, who is going to be great for poke. Sivir is going to have a fair amount of poke and wave clear. Then Rumble for team fighting alongside Kha'Zix as well. That is a lot of damage right there on the table from H2k. So MelonCats, although they've got potentially the better fighting composition with the Maokai ultimate, I think the skirmish-based fights for H2k in the jungle are going to be very difficult to deal with.
So that's our mid to late game 2 lane phases, this early phase. You've already mentioned how Odoamne and Eclipse is going to be such an important matchup for both teams. Is there anything else stand out here we need to pay attention to, or is it just the top?
I think bottom lane is going to be fairly explosive right now, especially when you have 2 very different supports from what we're used to. Recently, we've been favoring a lot more of the sustain support. So you look at a Sonar or an Nami. Janna also for shields, but it's not so much sustain. This time, however, this is all about aggression. This is all about that kind of get in there and fight in that bottom lane. And that is what we've seen out of H2k, Hyanan, and Voidal. Just time and time again. They love exerting a lot of pressure in their lane, get that level 2 early, and make sure they can dominate from there.
So I want to quick talk over the summoner spells we've got here. There's immediate difference in the mid lane. Febiven's taking an ignite, a barrier taking a heal, so that Xera's playing far more defensively, as we are, to be honest, not too surprised to see. But bottom lane, both supports have got themselves an ignite.
Yeah, again, aggression in that bottom lane. That really is just H2k and MelonCats saying, let's just, you know, slug it out. Fist fight down in this bottom lane. Let's see who comes out on top.
So, any second now, as I'm sure you can hear, we are going to jump into the rift. We do have H2k down in the bottom left-hand on the corner as our blue squad for the first game in this best of 3, and MelonCats in the top right-hand as our red team and our second squad for this best of 3 game. Quick pause out.
He does on the Rengar.
So there it is, all unpaused and ready to go. Again, I mentioned this is an important one. We've done everything else. We've done all the other lanes. Top lane. Difference in items. Doran's shield up against Doran's ring already, which is fairly obvious because you've got the Doran ring on Maokai is expected all the time, and it's resourceless on Rumble. But how should that play out? Why is Odoamne so happy to pick Rumble into Maokai?
So we saw that pretty much be rediscovered at Worlds. Rumble just has so much damage when you can actually balance your overheat well. As soon as you can keep it in the danger zone and head in towards the Maokai, there's not a lot they can do really to upset your ability to output damage with that Flame Spitter. So you can see Odoamne is already keeping his heat above that 50 mark, and that's something that you'll expect to see out of a player like Odoamne. It's the mark of somebody who knows this matchup.
So we do see Kha'Zix immediately going up towards this blue buff, but he's still got a good 30 seconds to change his mind if he wants. He's got Rumble there in support to help him with his first buff, and Elise is actually whoever started on the bottom half of the map now is heading towards her red, so they're both going to be on that top side of the map and hit the blue buff and the red buff on the bottom side as they're about that level 3 mark.
Down in this bottom lane, very interestingly enough, Voidal has gone for the lesser engage route on his skill level. He's actually taken heal at rank 1, which tells you that they're very afraid of Dude and Crikey actually putting a lot of damage down in this early game phase. They want that extra sustain, and they don't expect to engage until about level 3. At that point, Hyanan will have the Boomerang Blade and the Spell Shield along with the Ricochet, and there they feel comfortable in the lane.
We also saw them standing in that bottom bush before the minions had arrived, as we've seen time and time again recently. But as soon as they saw Thresh, even without Corki, they turned and kind of ran away. So while they were there for vision, as you said, they did not want to take any kind of fight. But it's working out for them as they're already pushing this lane a lot harder than MelonCats can.
Yeah, that's the other side of Triumphant Roar, Alistair's heal. It is going to heal everything around. And that is pretty much going to make sure that your lane is always healthier, pushing in towards the opponent. So it kind of offsets a lot of what Crikey and Dude are going to want to do here.
There we do see again trading with these level 1 abilities back and forth. Voidal Just heals it up, and a lot of it is shrugged off again. In the top lane, we had Odoamne putting a lot of damage down onto his Eclipse already because he hit that level too fast. And it's clear again, or already rather, that Eclipse is having a harder time here than we've seen previously. But he's still level 1. He's got a little bit of time to get some more experience under his belt.
Again, Odoamne just balancing the heat very well in this early game. The added damage that Rumble gets from being over the 50 heat mark is so good for these early trading parts where really Maokai isn't able to sustain up, so he's forced to use health potions.
So, middle lane is the last one we've not touched yet then. Jace and Xerath are there and farming fairly evenly as things stand.
Yeah, it's going to be like this for a little while, as neither champion really has all that much damage to bully the other out of lane, but it's going to get more difficult, perhaps, as Jace gets more and more damage, because if Xerath can't stand behind his minions, shock blasts like that are really going to chip him down.
Yeah, however, if Febiven's not careful, those shock blasts are also going to push the lane very close to Abaria's tower, and with Febiven's game knowledge, with his sheer experience, he's going to know that both junglers are very close or past that level 3 with double buff mark now. So he's got to start keeping his eyes open for Elise. Do see the first recall coming out from Kha'Zix though, and he's got himself a quick Spirit Stone rather than any kind of combat. Yeah, that's a little bit surprising perhaps when you take into account the standard playstyle of the aggressive junglers. They'll sometimes pick up longsword first, but hook in the bottom lane. Hook in the bottom lane does land, but Yana puts the spell shield a bit late. It's just a little bit of a trade, but down to 50% health with no potion left now because of that is Sivir. You can see Rumble's pushing up very high up into this top lane, and his ward just died. Gilius typically would be around mid lane, perhaps, to help out Xerath this early on in the game because of the catch potential, but it's top lane, actually. Odoamne has to be careful. Yeah, but they can't get the Twisted Advance down from Maokai. Flashes to get the snare in. There's no stun yet from Gilius, but he's going to do a lot of damage here in Spider form. Odoamne is trying to fight them, but he's overheated now. Gilius is very close, but it's taking so much damage and can't go into the bush. Lulex was there just in case. Odoamne gets away with a tiny bit of health left. He's going to go in for more, but no mana on Eclipse, I think, is pretty much a safe bet there for Odoamne. But what happened in that engagement was Gilius was forced to sit behind their own minions because he couldn't risk getting hit by the Electro Harpoon from Odoamne, because that would have put Gilius far too low to actually go in. So very nice play waiting for that moment from Gilius. So it does get the minions all pushed into turret, which gives Eclipse a nice base timing with, of course, that teleport to get back to the lane should he need it. Lilix was around top there to help with that gank if he was needed, and as a result, he's used that extra time he's gained from knowing Elise is low to go towards the mid lane. Abaria has landed the stun on Febiven, but does have to get pushed back to his turret before Lulix can really show up. But still, only one the potion left on Xerath. It's going to take a little bit of toll on him if he takes too many more shock blasts. Febiven may look to go in there. I was thinking he obviously could 2 the skies in, but his mana is far too low for this point. But what this is doing is delaying MelonCats' ability to get a pick in the mid lane. They're looking to set up Abaria and Gilius getting just a 1v2 kill or 2v1 kill in that mid lane and get themselves onto the board here. This is a fair lead already for H2k, about 500, 600 gold right now. And that gap is going to go even wider unless Gilius can get into this game some more. He's looking for an opening, or was looking for an opening onto Febiven, but actually they've decided Abaria needs to base, so they just want to pump and push this lane, so that's what Gilius is helping him do now. Kha'Zix is right up the top side of the map and nowhere to be seen as far as that's concerned, so they should have an easier time. Actually, I'm okay, now I'm even more confused with what Gilius had done, because he didn't stay to help push that lane. He just came in, took a couple of creeps and left. Gilius just wanted a bit of farm, but I think the sentiment is kind of there towards what they're looking for in that mid lane. That 2 single target stuns into a kill is what they would look for, but not in that situation. So that kind of is a precursor to what MelonCats are going to look to set up later into this game. But back down to that bottom lane, we haven't really seen all that much out of our bottom lanes, considering we thought they were going to be very aggressive. But what we have been seeing is so quintessential of Sivir, always pushing in. Craiky's doing a good job of farming up with it, though. Yeah, right now they are on level pegging for the 2 AD carries. There's been a couple of trades either way, but again, easily sustained back up again by both Voidal and Dude, using, of course, that Targon's Embrace. But there's big gold counts now on both the AD carries and the mid laners. We're yet to see any of them go back and really make a spend of it. So that as Xerath hits the fountain, he gets back and he buys himself, interestingly, the beginnings of Chalice, despite being up against physical damage.
Yeah, that is true that he is up against physical damage, which normally you'd see it go perhaps towards a Morellonomicon, but in this case, he very much so needs the mana regen. Blue buff is not going to be enough for him, but again, a repeat gank up in the top lane.
Gilius is coming out, but this time Eclipse has no flash to get the snare down. And Odoamne just walks on out of there. Also, while that was happening, we saw another trade bottom, in which case, yes, Voidal is very low, but Crikey took all the damage for MelonCats, and that's a far better trade for H2k.
But at the same time, we didn't quite catch it on our screen, but I believe Voidal flash pulverized and headbutted back, because he used both of his summoners in that engage, and he's just hit a very important spike at that level 6. Alistar Ultimate allows the bottom lane here from H2k to trade so effectively in these fights because of the damage reduction. So watch out when these two pairs go back to the lane. The MelonCats cannot afford to have Alistar hit a headbutt pulverize combo.
So, time for that first blue buff handover. Avaria is heading towards that now because Gilius is there to give it to him. Lulex just killed off a ward in the river on the top side. He's now heading towards his red buff, because that's the first thing to respawn for him. Or is he really just giving that blue buff over to Jace? That's an odd timing because he started it. He must have already given it to Jace, never mind, just missed it. As that'll help that mid lane become back into an even more comfortable farm fight. Yeah, there we go.
Yes, indeed. But look at what Jace did, in fact, pick up Brutalizer and the tier. So between that and the blue buff, he's going to be throwing those shock blasts out all the time in this mid lane.
Odoamne is starting to get very aggressive up top now that he's at level 6 as well, and this is a big wave of creeps that the Eclipse isn't going to be able to pick up from this turret because he hasn't got his TP to get back from this recall either, and this CS lead that is already there for Odoamne is about to stretch even larger. And
that is forcing this Eclipse into a build path he really doesn't want to go to. Ideally on Maokai, you want the Catalyst, the Protector, because it makes you tankier over time. You pick up Rod of Ages, you get tankier over time, and from there, Maokai is the team fight menace. But he's having to go Spectre's Cowl just to get the magic resist. That is not going to lead to a very tanky Maokai as they start to group.
And it's going to take a long time for MC to get the Eclipse into the point they like him being at. But can they stay in that long? Because H2k, we've already seen how they like to be aggressive. You mentioned the flash pulverize in the bottom lane. We know them in the past. But once they know their power spikes very well, they are not afraid to take fights. And if Eclipse isn't in the right setting when H2k decide it's go time, MelonCats are in a lot of trouble.
MelonCats are already in a bit of trouble. When you look at how their lanes are going, they're down in every lane, and that is not a good position to be in against potentially one of the top challenger teams in Europe. I mean, everybody's talking about how H2k are looking incredibly strong right now. We know that they're doing well against the rest of the EU Challenger lineup, so they're making a big statement about wanting to get back, get to the LCS, finally.
So, Gilius has made 2 attempts top now. One of them almost worked, the other one didn't even come close. But Odoamne still knows he's taking a lot of focus from this jungler and has got 2 wards there covering his backside for any further ganks. So Gilius needs to find an opening somewhere else, and perhaps that could be opening into a dragon if MelonCats play it right. But if they keep going like this, they're slipping behind by 1,000 gold in just laning, in just CSing. So they need something to change.
I mean, Gilius has wanted to get into the mid lane, but every time Gilius is around mid, a barrier takes another shock blast. We keep hearing the low health pings, and just again and again, a barrier is just getting hit by shock blast after shock blast, and that's opening up a CS difference. And this is a Xerath who should be able to farm fairly well, and already this has opened up just from a recall the dragon attempt.
Dude comes in to try and spot it. Hasn't got a ward to place down, but they know it's happening, so they can get a rough timer on it, and they're not going to stop it.
And they don't have wards because Dude has opted for mobility boots, but top lane...
in the top lane, the equalizer comes out. Eclipse dodges around it, but he's still taking so much damage from the rest of what Odoamne has. He has to flash back to the tower to stay alive, but again, he's got to recall.
He's going to have to back. Like right now, he cannot afford to really stick around, even with Gilius up there, because Odoamne will 2v1 this situation should it come to it. We've seen Rumble do that before. We'll see it again. It's just a matter of whether Gilius
know that Gilius is here now too, because there's no other reason for Eclipse to stay around like this. Gilius comes on out, does walk straight over a friendly ward, but see, Odoamne knows what's up. Flash doesn't land the stun, the damage comes down, but completely wasted flash on Gilius's part. Even Eclipse turned around before the flash happened.
It's just not lining up for Gilius right now. He's off tilt at this point, and Elise is a difficult champion to get working in the current meta. She doesn't really have as good a start to the game as she'd want. The only thing you're relying on is her pick potential, and if you can't get into lanes like that, there's no way you can get those picks to work from you. So that's a big cooldown not being available. And back down to this bottom lane. Check the health on that turret.
Check the health on Dude after he takes a BF sword infused boomerang blade to the back. Just dropping right down, and yes, as you mentioned, that tower's not going to last more than 2 minion waves, I suspect. Quick spell shield blocks out the big rocket from Crikey, who has now started to slip down in the CS after doing so well for sticking at the same point. But the hook lands on Hjarnan. Actually going to take a lot of damage from the phosphorus bomb, and the ignite has been used. But Voidal does a good job at blocking Corki out. But a quick flash forward and a lantern from Dude gets him close again, but the rocket will not land.
Oh, I don't think even Hjarnan was expecting that to hit. Looked like Voidal was in front, but that was a nice hook, and that shows the potency of this bottom lane, though. Do not underestimate Thresh and Corki with the amount of upfront damage they're going to have in these engages.
Voidal's hanging around. Don't know what for. They're going to see him when he comes around the corner. They're going to see him when the minions go around the corner, and he's got no support from a jungler either. I don't know, maybe he's just trying to follow him into a sense of security, thinking that he had based, but he is now still there. Gilius is down here, but again, it's a handoff a blue buff to Abaria to try and keep him in the farm game. But again, he is slipping down behind Jace as well. And as you mentioned, the shot blast that he keeps catching on, helping, down by 3,000 gold now as a team, especially with that dragon on top of it.
And that is a big factor, that MelonCats just kind of let that dragon go away. Top lane there is a bit of a trade, but Odoamne has his equalizer.
Yeah, and now Febiven and Lulex are coming up through the jungle as Eclipse is so low, and there's finally a first blood. Febiven gets it with a shock blast from miles away.
That is a very slow first blood, considering the lead that H2k have right now. But it's on one of the players that they really need it on, because the problem with Sivir is the later into the game you go, she doesn't exactly have the damage to deal with a tank like Maokai. So who do you put the damage on? Jace has damage, Rumble has damage, so let's get kills and assists on them. Maokai's never going to be a problem.
Jace walked all the way up there through the jungle and met up with Kha'Zix and got to top lane without boots.
Yep.
And he didn't use his acceleration gate because he needed it for the shock blast. He was just given all the time in the world to stroll on and have a little look around the jungle and pick up a kill without any kind of response from MelonCats.
Hey man, don't underestimate the extra movement speed that you get from Transform.
There is some of that.
It's hammer Transform on the way up.
We do actually get a stun from Gilius onto Voidal, but he shrugs it off with a heal. We do see MC now trying to get a bit of vision control around this dragon pit, which is good, but as Dragon's not coming up for over 2 minutes, those wards probably won't last.
No, and another factor that when Dragon actually does end up coming up is Odoamne is going to be a massive presence there. He's got a needlessly large rod before even Haunting Guys, which is an insane decision-making process that Odoamne has gone through. Is like, I don't actually need the magic penetration right now. I'm just going to get flat AP and deal massive amounts of damage to everybody in the next Dragon fight.
So you see him bullying Eclipse off of every last creep. Eclipse has gained about 8 CS from the last time we looked at those numbers. He's now down by 60 in his own. Gilius is up here again, though. No wards at all. Gilius has done a good job of that. He's dodged Odoamne's wards very well. This time the snare does land, but Odoamne may kill Eclipse before Gilius even gets there. It's a great equalizer, though. Odoamne will fall without taking either in return.
Oh, it's so close, though, and that was a little bit of overconfidence. Jace is on his way up, though, so they've got to be careful here. One shock blast will take out either, and if they stack, it'll take out both.
He's checking the bushes. One's clear. He's trying to get in the next one. One recall is going to complete, but Gilius is a bit late. He does get the last shock blast. Figured out where they must have been, and he picks up a return kill.
He made a list. He checked it twice, and down go MelonCats. There's not really a Christmas classic in that one.
No. Abario's doing a little bit of damage onto Lulex, but he's dodging away from most of it. But we do see a turret going down in the top lane, and that bottom lane one finally fell as well. So it's 2 turrets to 0 now in H2k's favor, and a 5,000 gold lead. Voidal's behind Dude, gets the knock up, gets the pulverize, and he's going to keep chasing onto it. Hjarnan goes around the box and starts putting damage down onto Crikey. Remember, there's no tower here this time too, so they can chase a bit further, but Crikey's putting out plenty of damage that H2k are a little bit too scared to keep the chase up. And with Abaria coming down the river, he's going to keep firing off his ult to somewhere, down to the bottom lane as the teleport comes down now from Odoamne. Dude falls. Crikey's trying to fight Hjarnan. He will also fall. And H2k again come out with 2 kills There's no response from the MelonCats.
They were just waiting on the cooldowns for Voidal, just waiting for that headbutt pulverize, and from there teleport down from Odo Amne. Here's the dragon fight that we were kind of predicting, but it is going to be preceded by a mid tower going down as well. Mid tower falls, mid lane is all the way open, and MelonCats are getting pushed back even harder.
And while I'd say that, okay, you can fall behind a little bit with Xerath more than perhaps some other champions because he can wave clear so much better than a lot of people. But even he is getting destroyed by H2k's poke from even Odo Amne, which is quite a distance of poke that he can't wave clear properly for them. He's back to the fountain after defending poorly that first middle turret, and now they may lose the second middle turret because of it. As it is, H2k decided 2 cannot push against 4 though, and they do back away, but not before doing 3/4 of the damage on that tower.
Yeah, so a lot of that damage comes from the fact that Forbidden just hit a really important spike. He's level 13, which means he has 5 points in Shock Blast and 5 points in Hypercharge right now. And that gives him the ability to push down towers incredibly quickly. First you siege with Shock Blast, then you just chunk it down with that extra, I believe, yeah, the extra 130% damage on each auto attack at max speed. So Forbidden, Last Whisper and a Mana Mune as well is really in a great spot.
So apparently we're getting some lag on the side of MelonCats, and they'll get that solved as fast as possible again. And,
has disconnected.
yeah, Abaria just reconnecting again as fast as possible. So ultimately, MelonCats, unfortunately, it's not really going their way today with a couple of small lag issues, and well, every lane losing over.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat that either. And I don't even think that the ban that they missed would have fixed that. It's MelonCats right now coming into this game just seem a step behind the game plan that H2k have. H2k have set this up very well for themselves, mobility poke, mid-game damage. And MelonCats are kind of floundering here.
They don't... I mean, we can see sort of what they need to do. They need to back off, they need to defend the sieges again, not getting picked off from random ganks and roams from H2k. But with Febevan landing every single shock blast, which is now approaching 50% of Abaria's health with each blast, it's so incredibly hard to play like that. And MelonCats, I mean, they're going to try their best, they're going to do everything they can, but they're down by 8,000 gold at 18 minutes. And H2k look incredibly comfortable.
Beyond comfortable. They just, it looks like a walk in the park for them right now. And it's going to get even tougher by, even though Abaria is about to finish, or about to, nope, not even about to complete. He's a long way off his Zhonya's Hourglass. That's going to go a little bit of the way to kind of helping them out a bit in surviving through some of this poke. They just have a composition that is very mismatched. You've got a lot of single target focus, and then your team fight is kind of reliant on Eclipse's damage reduction, and then getting a pick to begin with that Abaria opens up a lot of damage, and then kind of just hoping H2k don't have damage from there, which unfortunately they do.
So we did get a ready from both of those teams. The game is unpaused. We will be back in. Let's see if hopefully that gives a new spurt of life then for MelonCats. We do see in the top lane they're giving another go on Odo Amne, but he uses the equalizer down onto 2, and Gilius has taken so much damage from it. Odo Amne is slowed up again, but now he's got Voidal in support, and it's a 2v2. Kha'Zix and Sivir are also coming, and suddenly MelonCats are massively outnumbered. Eclipse is running in the right direction. Lulex and Odo Amne, however, are chasing to Gilius, who is in certain doom. They're going to keep chasing him as far as they can. He's heading towards the river. Odo Amne's careful of the turn, but there's the slow. There's the kill for Rumble.
Easy kill. H2k, are they even turning towards Baron here? I think they are, and this
Do not blame them.
This would normally be an incredibly fast Baron, but they've seen Corki's in the bottom lane, they know Gilius is not around, so they don't... There's no damage available really for MelonCats to look to steal this one away.
Yeah, even with that kill, of course, the jungle smite is gone. Abaria, do you have the damage? Gives it a go, but Kha'Zix picks it up with ease, even with Dude's grab. But we do get the ult come out from Xerath. Odo Amne, however, dodges every single one. And now they may even follow it up some more kills. Eclipse's headbutt pulvers and killed. Kha'Zix going to chase onto Abaria. The shock blast doesn't quite land, but the hook from Dude will hit Lulex. He's going to flash forward, though, and go for the next reset. Now they're onto Abaria. Lulex incredibly low, but Abaria's down, and it's a double kill for Jace.
I believe the only one that didn't die in that whole fight was Crikey, and that is just H2k with this massive spike they have right now. Now they've got the regeneration as well from Baron, and H2k are in a commanding position right now.
Looking for the blast. Doesn't quite catch Corky this time around, but this tower is incredibly low already. They're going to try and nuke it down. Jace finishes it off. They can't quite get onto Gilius or Crikey this time, though.
And if you're MelonCats, how do you combat this much of a lead? This is the kind of lead that will just close games out, and MelonCats have to know that. Eclipse right now is so not tanky. I've got to find a word for that. So squishy. Squishy is the word. Opposite of tanky. He hasn't got a completed item. I mean, he's got a Spectre Scout and a Catalyst, which is a little bit, but I mean, on the other side, Haunting Guys, Zhonya's Hourglass, Sorcerer's Shoes, Blasting Wand. It's gone so well for Odoamne.
Wow, the damage onto Crikey from one Shock Blast out of Febivent. Febivent, who has now got, of course, a Last Whisper on top of his Brutalizer and still hasn't completed the Mana Mune. But he's got to be incredibly close. And when he's doing that much damage before the Mana Mune, I am terrified to see what happens afterwards as Gilius takes one to the face, as does Dude, and that opens up this Tier 2 turret for H2k to take for free.
Yeah, he's currently at just over 600 stacks, so it is going to be very shortly that Febivent is going to have that added damage. But man, H2k 8-1 doesn't really tell the story of this game. There was a good 14-minute period at the beginning of this game where H2k just pushed around the lanes. They didn't get any kills, but they didn't need it. They just gave themselves the platform to set the game up like this.
They certainly played smart. We know a lot of teams who, if you start going well like that, would just start trying to get crazy kills and doing silly things and risk throwing the game away because of it. H2k knew they were ahead, knew they were winning the lanes, and if they just sat back and played it patiently, it wouldn't change that. And this is what we're now seeing. They are up by 12,000 gold at 22 minutes. And now they're looking for another tower, which with 5-1 already, and with Shock Blast, it's all it really is at the moment from Febivent that's pushing MelonCats off of these turrets. It's 2 or 3 Shock Blasts and suddenly they can't defend it. So he's not there, and this one is staying alive a little bit longer. He'll be there soon.
And honestly, this is H2k's playstyle through and through. They like to exert a lot of map pressure, push all 3 lanes if they can, and just completely choke your opponents out. Force them to spread as thin as possible.
Voidal's coming behind them, but they are forced to engage. Eclipse is there. Gilius is up. Abari has to fall back, but we do get a kill onto Eclipse first. Now H2k looking for the resets as Jace comes in behind. Thresh is down. Xerath's down. Crikey's the only man alive. H2k lose no one and pick up 4 kills and a tower.
Oh, it should not be that easy at 23 minutes into the game, but the resets from Kha'Zix are just too strong right now, and that is going to indicate exactly what I think a lot of people would have been expecting by there. That's a surrender vote coming through.
So, MelonCats, unfortunately, they didn't have the best showing in that first game, but H2k are showing exactly why they've had so many shots at the LCS, why they are one of the favorites for this tournament. However, I don't want to write MelonCats off completely yet.
Not completely. No, not yet either. Because we've seen this before, that teams can take game 1 very quickly and then kind of get beaten. The SKP Reason series comes to mind where SKP dominated game 1. MelonCats still have an Everest-sized mountain to climb. But, you know, they've got another game.
Yes, by no means will this next game suddenly become easy for them, but they do have 2 more chances to turn this series around. We will be back after this short break with H2k versus MelonCats game number 2